I've played pinball for most of my life, but I only really seriously got into the hobby about 5 years ago, about 2018, something like that. That was when I got my first ever pinball machine in my home. It was a Popeye, by the way, just in case you don't know. Now, with pinball ownership comes a bit of pinball responsibility and certainly a bit of pinball maintenance. And one of the first things that I was told was, you want to change your pinballs. You want to get the rusty old pinballs out and put some new ones in there. That made absolute sense. I knew I had a 25, 30-year-old game, and there were going to be things that would perish, that would depreciate. I certainly was aware that pinballs would be one of them. I knew that rubbers would be another one. However, what I was totally unprepared for was when I bought my first new in-box game, that I wouldn't be able to use the pinballs that came with it. This is, you'll all recognise this if anybody that's ever unboxed a brand new Stern machine. There's 6 Stern pinballs in there, and it never occurred to me that you wouldn't be able to put brand new pinballs into a brand new pinball machine. But I was advised not to. And this video is about why that advice was absolutely accurate. And I'm going to, because curiosity got the better of me, I'm going to take a look in close detail at the Stern pinballs and 3 premium pinball brands. And I'm going to explain to you why you shouldn't be putting Stern pinballs into your pinball machine either. Now, just for clarity, I'm going to be using the 3 brands. The first brand are Silverjet. The second brand are, oh, they're down here, are a brand called Pinsound Multiballs. And the third premium ones, now I'm afraid they don't come in a lovely packet. You're just going to have to take my word for it, because I've got the invoice here. And these ones here are Ninjas. These are Ninja balls. I think they might be called Baron Ninja pinballs, and they're just in there. I'm going to be comparing these 3 brands with the Stern pinballs. Now, just so as for absolute clarity, I've not taken any of these pinballs for free. I've had a few offers to say, oh, would you like to take these pinballs and test them for me? And I've said no, because what I'm going to say here is going to be the absolute honest truth as to which I think is the best pinball brand. I'll tell you now, ultimately it doesn't really matter. All 3 of the premium pinball brands are significantly better than Stern pinballs, which are scratched, which chip easily, which don't age well. And as a result, they're going to end up scratching up your playfield and scratching up your plastic ramps. We all spend an awful lot of money on pinball machines, let's be honest. And a lot of us take an awful lot of care of them. But probably the first thing that's going to start scratching it up is an abrasive ball. And that's what they are. It might not be obvious to the naked eye, but little abrasions, little defects on a pinball are going to cause a lot of damage, because basically you've got jagged metal going over your playfield. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have a scratched playfield, there are ways of polishing it out. I've got this stuff here. Here's a little pack of something called Novus. A lot of you will be aware of what Novus is. It's a plastic polish. This is, if you don't know, this is a decent little starter kit. I'll put the link to it below from Amazon. It's not worth going out and buying the big bottles unless you know this works. Can you polish scratches out of your playfield? To one extent or another. It's probably better if you don't have to, though, right? The other thing that you might need a bit of plastic polish for is the ramps, clear ramps. Now, clear ramps, when you get them, they're beautiful, they're transparent. A new ramp looks glorious, doesn't it? But it doesn't take long if you've got, well, abrasive pinballs in there for the ramps to get scratched up. And then they start looking misty, they start looking cloudy, and just the whole thing starts looking a little bit aged. So what I've done is to try and work out which pinball is best. I basically got this isn't a long distance camera, it's not a paparazzi camera, this is actually a macro lens that allows you to get very, very close to the pinball, which is what I'm going to show you in just a second. I've also tried to recreate the conditions for each photograph as accurately as I possibly can. I actually went out and bought this little thing here, which you light from either side. You pop the camera into there and take photographs of it. So I've done it as honestly as I possibly can. And I think you're going to be, well, you might not be surprised at the results, but I think you're going to be, if you already knew that Stern pinballs weren't particularly good, you're going to be doubly certain now. Now, the first image that I want to show you is a Stern pinball, the best Stern pinball I can find, and just a picture of a premium pinball. Now, as you're looking at the screen on the left, you can see there's a pinball. That's a multi-ball pinball. They were both taken with the same camera almost instantly after each other. I labelled each one individually. So what you can see is a little bit of reflection on each ball. On the right, you're seeing a Stern pinball. Now, you're not only seeing a Stern pinball, you're seeing a Stern pinball at its absolute best. Immediately, you can see that the Stern pinball, the pinball on the right, looks duller. In many respects, if you were to look at the two images, because we've got a reflection in each one, what you're seeing is me poking the camera through the curtain and taking a picture. If you look at the one on the left, it looks HD, doesn't it? You know, everything, the camera, the outline of the camera is clear. You're seeing my T-shirt on there. Also, there's a little label underneath each pinball, which, just for my own references when I'm doing this editing, I've written it on it. If you actually look at the colour of the label in the pinball, one of them looks white, whereas if you look at the Stern one, it looks cloudy, it looks dirty. However, they're exactly the same picture taken under exactly the same conditions. You know how you can tell? You can tell because look at everything else. Actually, don't look at the pinball itself. Look at the frame that the pinballs are sat in. It's exactly in the same focus, exactly the same colour on both images. Look at the bottom of the magnetic label, just that white strip at the bottom of the picture. It's exactly the same. However, you look at the pinball itself, one of them looks dull and cloudy, one of them looks crystal clear. That's the first indicator that what we have is a highly polished pinball. On the left is the premium one, which is the multi-ball. Then on the right, you also have a scratched pinball. Now, it's not until you zoom a little bit closer in and start looking for defects that you'll start to see even more of them. I also, and I'll keep popping pictures up for as long as I'm doing this video, you also see that you have a Silverjet, which is this brand here. These are not cheap. These were I think they were 25 euros, 25 euros for a pack of 5. A pack of 5 is good to nobody. Whoever does this, if Silverjet ever managed to watch this video, come on guys, do a pack of 6, because, well, maybe it's a marketing ploy, if so, it's very successful, because what you find yourself having to do, because most of my modern pinballs are 6-ball, you end up having to buy 2 packs, which is, you know, come on. That's before it's delivered. That's pretty much £50 plus delivery, because you're not getting these in this country. I went and got these from, I think it was Pinball Shop NL. I might have that wrong. It's a Dutch pinball company. By the time they've been delivered here, I'm talking about £65 for a disposable item. It's too much. But what you don't want to be doing is buying the cheap stuff either. There's probably a little halfway house where it's quite a happy medium. The one thing I would say when you're looking at the Silverjet photos, this Silverjet are packed really well in this tub. So this says Marco. So Silverjet Marco. That's what this particular pack says on it. A good sounder. They actually come packed in an oil and a little grease and a little residue, and so I have actually cleaned them up as well as I can before and particularly afterwards. But just in some of the pictures, if the Silverjet look like they got a little smear on them, it's not scratches. It's just I haven't got the oil fully off. But you know, take my word for it. I've taken a lot of pictures. They're really, really good pinballs. The other ones are the Ninjas. Now the Ninjas are. As I think it's from a company called Baron. As I say, I wanted to steer away from anyone supplying me with any pinballs, because I bought these with my own money, because I want to be as honest as I can with this review. So the Ninjas also do the Polaris pinball. The Polaris is what you use if you have magnets in your game, because they don't magnetize as much as the other pinballs, so that you don't get them sticking together, maybe in the trough and other places like that. So you want a sort of a low magnetic yield on your pinballs if your game has magnets in it. So they're all on there. All I can say is about Silverjet, is about multi-balls, and of course the Ninjas. They're all significantly better than the Stern pinballs. Now, this is really where it gets interesting, because it's not just what they're like out of the pack, it's how they age. Now, I've been planning on doing this video for over a year. Probably a lot longer. If you've been watching this channel from its inception, you would have heard me mention this before. I keep my pinballs. I change them regularly. There's a reason. I'm saving up pinballs to make like a pinball coffee table. I'm going to put them in resin. So I'm always looking to change the balls so I can get enough to make this coffee table, which I'll make one day, absolutely. However, it was really when I first noticed that the first time I'd run some Stern pinballs for any length of time, quite how badly they were scuffed up. Now, for purposes of clarity, I'm not comparing like with like. To do that, I would have to be even more scientific than I have done, and that is, I guess, have to get a pack of Stern pinballs, put them in Deadpool, use them for 200 games with just me playing it, then take some Silverjet balls, put them in Deadpool, play 200 games with them, and then see what happened afterwards. I'm just not prepared to do that because these Stern pinballs are so bad, they're not getting anywhere near my machine. But what I'm going to do now is pop up an image of a Stern pinball that's basically was in one of my machines for a year before I found out any of this stuff. And you've only got to look at the state of it. This is not in good condition at all. Probably worse than that is the Stern pinballs seem to deteriorate even when they're in the packing. And what I seem to have discovered from these pictures, they seem to chip. The veneer on the Stern pinball seems quite thin, so it chips off. And not only do they chip off, some of the pinballs they chip off, and it almost looks like there's a little bit of rust, almost rust spots underneath. Now, I would compare that with the ball that, for this video, about an hour ago, I went and took a ball out of Deadpool, and I don't think I've changed the balls in there for probably about 6 months. Now, it hasn't been played every day for the past 6 months. I think if you play it every day, you probably want to change your balls about every 3 months. But the ball's been in there for 6 months. A lot of people come over this house. A lot of people play pinball in there. And I just want you to see the difference of the premium pinball compared to a Stern pinball, which have both seen a similar amount of action, I would say. And the only reason I say that is because the pinball, the Stern pinball I had, was actually in Elvira. And Elvira, towards the end, wasn't getting played an awful lot. I don't think there's much in it. I would imagine both of these pinballs have probably seen about 400 games. And just look at the difference between them. The Stern one and the premium one. Now, again, for reasons of clarity, I can't remember. I'm just being honest with you here. I can't remember which pinballs I put in Deadpool. They are either multi-balls, they're either ninjas, or they're Silverjets. Okay? But I have a feeling they're Silverjets, but I don't want to... I'm not certain of it, so I'd rather you didn't assume that they were. What is clear is that the ball is still in excellent condition. In some instances, some of the used premium pinballs are better than a Stern pinball comes out of the packet. And that's not great. I'm going to do something. I've got a pack here. As I say, I've got loads of these things. There's a pack here that I opened. Another Stern pack of pinballs. This is how bad the pack was. When I opened them, it actually, this little bit of silica gel, which guess what it is to soak up the moisture, it actually had brown spots in it. The brown spots actually come from the balls. I don't know how well you can see that, but there are actually rust spots on there. I decided I was trying to be as kind to Stern as I possibly could. I didn't use that. And actually, I thought, actually, that's probably unkind. And in the end, I thought, I'm not sure how long they've been sat in there in my pinball drawer. But there's no damp in this room whatsoever. None. So why they've deteriorated whilst in the packet, I don't know. But once again, it's a sign that the Stern pinball's veneer is awful. However, what I do have just here are the pinballs that I got from Godzilla. Now, Godzilla, I don't think has been here a year. I don't think so. I don't think Godzilla... If it has, maybe about a year. You'll be able to tell by looking at the past videos. It probably is about that. These are a year-old Stern pinballs. I've not even opened them yet. But I wouldn't mind betting if I open them up now, and I'm just going to, you'd have to excuse me, I'm going to change my glasses here. If I find something, I'll take a photo of it. I'm just using, you can see my magnifying glass here. There you go. Immediately, I found a chip. Immediately, there's a chip on this pinball. You can actually see, these pinballs not easy to take a photograph of. You can actually see the chrome is not on there. There's just a little chip, a little bit of the brown. Well, the veneer's gone. They're awful. They're absolutely awful. Do not put these anywhere near your pinball machine. Now again, for reasons of clarity, the only new in-box pinballs that I've ever tested have been Stern pinballs. So I couldn't possibly tell you if Jersey Jack pinballs are crap or if Chicago Gaming Company pinballs are bad. I haven't been able to test them. It would be wrong of me to even suggest that they are better than Stern ones. Maybe they put cheap pinballs in there as well. I would like to test them. What I think I'd also like to do is maybe have a look at some other brands. So if there is another brand that you particularly like and you particularly use, and you want me to have a look at it, ask. But do you know what? You could probably do this stuff yourself. If you had a microscope, you could probably do an even better job than I have here, that's for sure. Which pinball is best, though? Having looked at them and having zoomed in and having spent a lot of time, I say a lot of time thinking about it, a lot of time looking, and a lot of time pondering it, I would say that any premium pinball, as far as I can tell, is significantly better than the Stern one. It's not going to be scratching up your pinball machine. The thing that worries me about the Stern ones is the veneer seems to chip off very, very quickly. So if, for instance, you have a game with metal ramps, then it's going to start chipping off. I touch it now, actually, you know, paradoxically, I guess, if you have metal ramps, it's not going to be scratching up the ramps, is it? However, it's still going to be scratching up the playfield. But every time a Stern pinball hits something metal on the playfield, or even another pinball, it's going to chip. So keep them out of there. Having looked at all the pictures, the best pinball, I think, that I've seen are these. Pinsound Multiballs. Now, I'm not being, as I say, they've not sent me any free. I'll tell you what, now I've done this video, you can send me some free ones if you want now. These are best, but there's not a lot in it. There is not a lot between these pinballs. And you get a nice little bag with these, look. That's not factored into my thinking at all, by the way, because I think this is still a cool little pouch. In this pack of multi-balls, there was 8 in there. 8. Which I thought was really good as well. They did seem to work out cheaper than buying... Well, they definitely were cheaper than buying 2 packs of these Silverjets, which are the next best. But these are very close to those. Very, very close. There's not a lot in it. If you buy these, you're still getting a really, really good pinball. Now, for obvious reasons, I don't particularly want to recommend a manufacturer, sorry, a stockist where you can go and get these, because it's not, I don't want to do that. It's not, you know, I don't want to be seen to be pushing you in any direction to buy your pinballs. I want it to be an honest thing. So you can just search these, look, you know, Pinsound Multiballs, Silverjet, Marco balls. The other one, the Ninjas, I did find that the Ninjas and the Polaris was a little drop down, but not much. Okay, there was a little drop down. I found these 2 brands to be better, not significant, but to be better than the Ninjas and the Polaris. But maybe they were this much better than the Ninjas and the Polaris, but the Ninjas and the Polaris were this much better than the Sterns. And there you go. That's my summary of the pinballs. I hope I haven't bored you all to death. don't know how I managed to speak about pinballs for 20 minutes, but I've put quite a lot of imagery up, as I'm sure you'll notice. If there's anything else that you particularly wanted me to test in terms of pinballs, I'm not sure I want to overly go down the rabbit hole of testing rubbers and things like that, and I don't particularly want to go out and buy a load of different rubbers. That sounds a bit wrong, doesn't it? But hopefully this video will have been of some use to some of you. If you didn't know, I'm pretty sure most of you, whenever you buy a pinball machine, have got your favourite brand. One thing I am sure, though, is if your favourite brand of pinball is a premium brand, then you're absolutely fine. Because the one thing that I have noticed is it's not how they look at the start, it's how they look after they've done 200 or 300 games. And I have to say, all the premium brands, even after 200 or 300 games, are still showing that beautiful reflection when I take the picture. They've not become as hazy. They just have a longer life. And if your pinball retains its shape and retains its veneer for a longer period of time, then by association, your playfield and your plastic ramps, and therefore your pinball machine, is going to last a lot longer too.